We're live. And I need to say happy anniversary to the Making Your Impact podcast because it has been 1 year, as anniversary would indicate. Today, not technically today, Sunday technically was the first anniversary of the Making Your Impact podcast. But today, the first year anniversary podcast episode was published. And what can I say? I guess I didn't know that I was going to make it this far. I'm still kind of surprised. So I decided to prepare some notes. Yeah, they're actually on note cards because that's just who I am as a person. I just wanted to share some of my favorite moments from the podcast. Hello, Neil. Hi, Gary. Thank you, Gary. Just wanted to, celebrate a little bit. Oh, this is my crown. I mean, it's a birthday crown. But I mean, first anniversary, first birthday. I think that the crown is satisfactory for both. So celebrate with me, if you will. We're going to talk first of all about some of my favorite moments in the past year of doing a podcast, which is still strange to say. Okay, one of my favorite moments was researching and finding music. I, first of all, had to do a lot of research to find decent music that didn't sound like Muzak, that also wasn't super expensive. And I ended up finding a website that had everything that I needed. And that just felt like a real victory. So that was fun because it was the theme music for the podcast and then the different features like the Leslie Knope Corner. Oh, the Leslie Knope Corner is not on my notes, but that's also been a favorite memory from the last year. And the brand new Parks and Rec episode is coming out tomorrow. So it felt like good timing to coincide with my first anniversary, I guess. Now, this is a collection of favorite moments. Just all the interviews that I have gotten the opportunity to do with different friends. I've done at least one interview across the country, a couple of them across the country with friend Hannah in Des Moines, Iowa, where I'm from. One of them was literally across the world, on the opposite corner of the world, with one of my best friends, Anna Danforth, living in South Africa. So that was interesting to coordinate because at the time there was still an 8-hour time difference when we are on daylight savings here in Oklahoma. It's just 7 hours between us, but at the time it was 8. And she and I did a special Galentine's episode. One interview I did was just across the office with Whitney Anderson, one of my fellow co-founders at the Dragonfly Home. I just walked from my office over to hers, and we sat and did an interview, and that was super fun. And then a few of them have just been across town. A lot of my YWS, Yukon Writer Society friends have been on the podcast. One of my very favorites was when we had in this very room a Galentine's Day party where I had some of the gals from YWS over, and we had a party, ladies celebrating ladies. That's what you do on Galentine's. And then we also recorded a podcast episode, and that was cool because I felt like some of them maybe weren't thinking in terms of the impact that they make, and I got to provide an opportunity for all of us to tell them the kind of impact that they're making with their lives every day. That was great. Let's see. I got to interview my sister at Christmas time. That was really cool. And then finally, from the last few weeks of quarantine, this is week 7 for me being at home. I've recorded a couple of episodes. I just drove to Lake Hefner. Interestingly, sitting inside a car is a pretty decent recording space when I have the windows up because of all the plush furniture. It's not very echoey in there. So as long as the engine isn't running, it's not bad in terms of a little mini recording studio. So I've gone to the lake and entertained myself there. I saw a guy almost fall in while he was fishing while I was recording the episode that came out today. That was very exciting. And for just a moment, it flashed through my head, what will I do if I see him fall into the lake? And my friend Mandy said, what would you have done? And I said, in that moment where he was slipping down some rocks into kind of a marina, I guess, where he was fishing and he was really, really flailing to keep his balance, he did not fall. It flashed through my head. I guess I'll shout over to him, are you okay? And then, do you need me to call an ambulance? Trying to practice social distancing unless the situation really needed me to jump in. I don't think that area is super deep, but what do I know? I don't know. He didn't fall in, so I was glad about that. That was exciting, though. So it's been great to go to the lake, also just to see cute dogs walking by with their owners. I also think one of the most meaningful things to me has been the feedback that I've gotten from people. So people who respond to the questions of the EPs on the Instagram, or sometimes they email me or just send me a text message. I asked one question for the Leap Day episode and had a number of friends call in and leave voicemails for that. And just, family members that reach out and say that they're listening. And even just earlier today, a friend texted with a really nice message. And I don't know, while I guess I thought that friends and family would be generally supportive, like, yes, very good job. I guess I didn't expect to have such kind words, such an outpouring of support. So that's meant a ton to me. A few friends and family members have used podcast listening apps, if you will, for the very first time because of wanting to listen to my podcast. And then a few of them have gotten into additional pods. And so that's been really cool as well. Let's see what's next on my note cards. Okay, two of the most unexpected things that have happened in this last year. First of all, I would say that, so I'm in the midst of working on a memoir that is about kind of my journey to becoming an activist, and writing that made me realize that I was kind of born that way. Honestly, I've been this way since I was a child. And the idea for this podcast really grew out of that book. But then, especially since the beginning of this year, now the podcast kind of in a role reversal, I guess you could say, has really inspired me to get back into working on the book. And I guess that was unexpected. I don't know. You just don't know how things are going to go. And the podcast was a lot of work, especially at the beginning and especially throughout last year, kind of getting my feet under me, figuring out how to make it sustainable. And so I probably even just a matter of a few months ago thought, how am I ever going to have time to do the podcast, to do things related to it, and also work on the book? And you know what? Through, I guess, diligence and praying and asking God for help and ideas and wisdom, those things have come. And so the podcast has become more sustainable, thanks in large part to my friend Mandy Markham, who has been helping me with it. And now they're really sort of not feeding off each other, feeding into each other. So I guess I didn't expect that. It's been a really pleasant outcome. And then the other, maybe even more unexpected thing is that I have people messaging me, telling me that I should do ASMR on YouTube videos. Gary, I don't know if you're still listening. You might have been the first person. Literally just earlier today, someone texted me and said that my voice was very soothing. And I thought, I don't hear it. My own voice is not soothing to me, but apparently on the pod it is. So very cool. I guess if you're going to have a podcast, you have the kind of voice that people would want you to do ASMR with. I don't know. I like ASMR, so that's a very good compliment. Let's see. Something that I have learned is that there is plenty to talk about. So last summer, when was just a few months in, I remember sitting at a coffee shop. One day, we will return to coffee shops. I will return to coffee shops once more. And I was brainstorming ideas, like topic ideas. And I was like, oh man, I guess I could talk about this. And I don't know. And I remember making this list and thinking, this is not very many topics. I guess I'm just going to go with what I have and trust that it'll be okay. And it has been. There's more than enough to talk about. What I didn't expect is that life will bring up topics. I didn't know back then that I was going to do so many interviews, because it's a lot to ask your friends and family members to sit down and talk with you for a while and be willing to have their voice broadcast. But people have been really willing to do that. And that's been such a gift. Last note card. Here are some things that I am looking forward to. Number one, some upcoming interviews. I've got a couple that are lined up already, and then a few more people who are sort of on deck, right? Like in baseball. And those are going to be good interviews. They're going to be with some people who are really dedicated to making their impact, and they just have great stories to share. Inspirational as all get out. I'm friends with some really cool people, and I can't wait for all of you to get to enjoy their stories as well. I am also really excited about doing more videos, so that will be in the form of some vlogs and stuff like this on my Patreon, and then doing more videos like live videos, such as this on Facebook. I was doing that for a while, the end of last year. And then, just managing everything and prioritizing things, I got away from it, but I really enjoy that kind of thing. So hopefully I'll get into more of that. And I just got to say, I have more ideas coming up. There's always a lot going on, just bubbling around up in here, all kinds of ideas that are to come. And as well as continuing to work on my book, I'm actually starting to make some pretty steady progress on that. So it's cool to see some really potential, goals that really have the potential of happening, that they aren't just like pipe dreams. They're actually things that could come to pass. And there's just always so much that I want to do. Things are still super busy at Dragonfly, so working on that, and then working on all of this in my spare time. And while it has been stressful a lot of the time, it's also been super rewarding. And I feel like I'm kind of past the most stressful hump, I guess, if you will. Kind of feel like I know a little bit more what I'm doing now, and that is just the benefit of spending more time doing this. So I just want to end by saying thank you. Thank you to all of you who have listened. Thank you to all of you who have shared about the podcast, either just like word of mouth, but a lot of you have shared my posts. You have shared posts on Facebook. You have, in response to maybe your friends who, especially during these last few weeks, asked for podcasts to listen to, and you have tagged me and shared the podcast link in response to those questions. That's so cool. Thank you so much. People who have retweeted me and shared about the podcast on Instagram stories. Every time that happens, I'm like, wow. That's just so incredibly thoughtful that you would think to share that with your people, and it means so much to me. And so I guess that's it. So happy anniversary, Making Your Impact podcast. Thank you for watching with me, whether that's right now or it's a little bit later. I'm so grateful. Thank you. And this is the official end of the celebration.